Hey, what's up? Zach here. And when I first heard that Nike was re-releasing the Kobe 6 Protro in the Mambacita colorway, I really had a lot of conflicting thoughts because, on this channel, I cut open shoes, but on these, I was really kind of not wanting to, just because, number one, I know what the Kobe name and brand means to so many people, I mean, myself included. And on the other hand, I've also been really curious as to what is inside the Kobe 6 Protro, especially because so many pro basketball players are still using that in other Kobe line shoes. So just kind of the foot doctor in me, I should say, was really curious as to what's on the inside. So when I heard they were going to re-release these, I started preparing for this, and I actually found a pair of Kobe 6 Protros, or just one shoe of them, that was no longer able to be used anyway, and I figured I would cut this Kobe 6 Protro, be able to see everything that's inside of it. That way I'd also be able to do a full performance review of the Kobe 6 Protro Mambacita release, but still preserve this piece of sneaker history, and just these shoes that mean so much to so many people. And when I first started planning my review of the Mambacita, number one, I just wanted to see how they play, and I was really excited to get them on. But I also wanted to see, why so many pros are still using this shoe, and why this shoe is just so popular with so many people still. Even though sneaker technology has gone up and up and up, people still keep coming back to this shoe. And so let's get into them. Now, right off the bat, what I love about the uppers of the Kobe 6 Protro is the scales that go all the way from the junction of the rear and midfoot all the way around the forefoot. And what I love about that, number one, it's just a pretty cool looking shoe. It does kind of give the shoe a little bit of a pop, but also this is really effective drag guard material. If you look even at the one that's just been used a ton, none of those scales are really damaged at all. They're still all perfectly intact. And the reason I think they don't deform and crack over time is because there's enough break points in them that allow them to bend with the shoe. So they do give you incredibly good drag protection of your foot, but they also are ergonomic enough that they'll last the life of the shoe and then some. And the best showcase of that design is on the upper durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. I mean, it barely makes a dent in those scales, and this is the super used model of the shoe. So a brand new pair of these is just gonna be incredibly durable to dragging and sliding, even on super gritty outdoor asphalt courts. And moving on to what I think is, one of the most important parts of any shoe, the tongue. And what I really like about that is it is pretty substantial as it goes deeper into the shoe. However, it does have the cutouts for airflow. So even though the tongue is super supportive and gives you a really nice lockdown, you're still getting a ton of breathability. It really combines nice with the outer layer of the uppers, which make for a surprisingly substantial upper without all the weight. And all these features in the uppers then combine with this minimalist but just freakishly strong outrigger heel counter here, which even on the really old model was really hard to get my knife through. And what I like about that is it's really broad, so it comes all the way up to your midfoot. So it gives a ton of lateral stability going side to side, and it really locks the heel in. So even for a shoe that is by no means a high or mid top, the shoe still keeps you really secure, just using really good engineering and not necessarily bulk. Now, getting into the midsole teardown, the one difference from the original Kobe 6 to the Protros, they did put a Zoom turbo unit in the forefoot, and the 6s were upgraded with Cushlon foam. Now, what I think is the bigger deal in the Kobe 6 is that it's one of these shoes that the arch is actually higher than the heel. And in the heel, you are getting a pretty huge Zoom air unit, but unlike some other models of shoes where they really pump up the arch fill with the foam, in the Kobe 6, you're also getting a carbon fiber shank underneath of that. So you're getting an incredible amount of stress shielding in the shoe, but also an incredible amount of arch support and bounce in the shoe, because the shoe is just filled with all that really nice bouncy Cushlon foam. So these shoes give a ton of bounce, but also for a pretty minimalist setup. And if you just look at the jump height test, 39 centimeters on that. The only shoe that's beaten this so far is the Way of Wade 9 Infinity. And the big reason for that is, number one, that also has a carbon fiber shank and a polypropylene shank, but also it's just sitting so high off the ground, it's kind of hard not to jump high in these. But where the Kobe 6 is, much lighter shoe, much lower profile shoe, but with all that Cushlon foam, plus a carbon fiber shank underneath of it, and a huge stack of foam right where you would need it to push off. It's just perfect engineering once again. Now, getting into the outsole tread, honestly, this reminds me of the KD14, or I should say the KD14 reminds me of the Kobe 6, and that is that it's very thin outsole tread separated by pretty wide margins at some points. Now, this webbing type pattern or octopus sucker type pattern is ridiculously good for indoor hardwood courts. It's gonna grab incredibly well. It's also really good at traction for outdoor courts, except for the fact that because the webbing on here is so thin, it's just gonna be very easy to burn through them because there's not a lot of surface area of rubber. But the somewhat hidden gem that takes the traction of the Kobe 6 to the next level is this lateral flange that is made completely of outsole rubber. And what this rubberized flange does, combined with the webbing here, it just keeps the shoe amazingly stable when you're on one foot or when you're pushing off where all your body weight is on one side and you're moving laterally. But also when you're pushing off, it just gives you that little bit of grip on the outside of your shoe that gives you that little bit more force to get to the other direction. So the shoe just picks up side to side so easily and just so much better than most other shoes. And when I took the Kobe 6s out for the shuttle test, came in at 14.71 seconds on a really uneven kind of battered court in the morning when it was still pretty, when the paint was still pretty slick. And these shoes still gripped incredibly well, gave me a ton of push off force, and they were just so easy to get up off the ground and move in them because they're just lighter than a lot of other shoes out there with the same features in the mid and outsole. But as I alluded to earlier in the video, the one downside of the Kobe 6 Protro is its outsole durability. I actually did find a place on the old Kobe 6s where the tread depth hadn't been worn yet, and with the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, I mean about 2 millimeters of damage on a 3 millimeter tread depth, and this just is not really hard rubber on these, and there's just no surface area, like I said, so there's nothing protecting the tread. So these shoes really are, if you want to use them for a while, they are a hardwood shoe or a rubberized court shoe. Like I said, you can wear them outside, just don't expect them to last very long. Now the fit of the Mambacitas was pretty surprising because it is a pretty in-flared shoe. I thought that'd also be pretty darn narrow. However, in my standard size, I really didn't have any problems except for maybe about a half hour of break-in on my wider side, my left side. After that, they're actually pretty comfortable, and I think it's just because the uppers are a little more malleable, a little bit lighter, so they'll accept more foot types. However, if you are a 2E and do just want a little bit more room, you can go up that half size. However, if you do want a 1-to-1 fit for a little more performance, then I still think you can go with your standard size. Just remember, you're gonna need a little bit more break-in. And the best part though about the fit of the Mambacita is because it has all that foam here in the arch, which you can see on the shoe that's pretty old, it's still holding up really well because of that carbon fiber. These are gonna fit over pronators, over supinators, ball of foot pain, heel pain, arch pain, whatever, just because it's got all the trappings of a shoe that's meant for comfort and meant for cushion, but also a shoe that's meant for support. Now, if you're somebody that is a chronic ankle sprainer and can't wear a shoe with a pretty inflared last, then you might want to look somewhere else. However, just in terms of overall stability in a shoe, for how light and minimal these are, it just doesn't get much better. And so speaking of all that intuitive engineering and the really nice fit profile, I think the reason why these shoes are still so universally liked is that they're just so easy to play basketball in. They're one of the most creative shoes on the market. If you're someone that really likes to improvise on court and that really kind of finds themselves just trying to make plays out of nothing or trying to make baskets out of nothing, you know, these shoes can just almost make points score out of thin air. There's not one situation I found myself on the court that I couldn't improvise better with these. I couldn't create better with these. And for someone like me who gets a lot of rebounds because I miss a lot of shots when I'm making these videos, I found that these shoes were the most quick reacting shoes that I have ever put on my feet. I found from anywhere on the court, I could kind of get to the ball and make something out of the next shot. These shoes are just so easy to get up off the ground in. They're so easy to launch from. It's just really nice in these shoes where if you're trying to hit a high floating jumper, if you're trying to get over somebody's head or just make a really quick pivot or reaction. So in contrast to some other shoes that are just good for certain players and foot types, this is one of those shoes that is actually somewhat of a game improvement shoe. At least I noticed it from me, who's someone who needs a lot of improvement. I did find that when I was in these shoes, my confidence really started to grow, especially around the hoop, when I could just start making things happen, whereas in other shoes, maybe felt like lead bricks or just didn't have enough stability that I really couldn't kind of unlock some of my own potential and my own footwork. And that's why I really hope Nike does start re-releasing more Kobe Protros in larger quantities, just because number one, I do think there's a market out there for these, and number two, because they're just better basketball shoes than a lot of other sneakers out there right now. So, I mean, make sure you leave me a comment down below if you are interested in trying to get a pair of Kobe 6 Protros or just any other Kobe Protro that you would think that should be re-released from Nike. Let me know in the comments down below. And like I said, sneaker technology from the Kobe 6 till today has made some really interesting quantum leaps. Whether that's good for your individual foot, however, you know, just remains to be tested and tried out by you. So if you want to see some of the newest technology that we've seen on the basketball court this year, make sure you click on this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you in the next video.